Welcome to the Packaging Etc. podcast, where we will discuss all things packaging and some things not. We will hear from professionals across all areas of the industry: design, engineering, manufacturing, and many more. We will learn about packaging trends, new technologies, and cutting-edge innovations. This podcast is all about showcasing our favorite parts of the industry, the people, and giving them a platform to share their stories and their knowledge of packaging. Let's take this journey together. And now, your host, Matt Mulvey.
All right. Back for another wild and crazy episode of the Packaging Etc. podcast. I'm your host, Matt Mulvey. With me today to talk about the rebirth of the Institute of Packaging Professionals North Jersey chapter, Adam Brakoniecki. Adam, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, great. I appreciate you taking some time and joining me today on the podcast. So I know the genesis of today's episode, we wanted to talk about this rebirth of what used to be the Meadowlands chapter is now the North Jersey chapter. So do me a favor, take a minute, kind of introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are, and tell us a little bit about the genesis of that rebirth, that change to the chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that don't know me, my name is Adam Brakoniecki, and I'm a principal packaging engineer within the Sustainable Medical Technologies Institute at BD. This is a group that was created by BD to reduce the environmental impact of our products. Focuses on materials of concern, alternate modes of sterilization, sustainable design for product and packaging, really helping us develop circular economy solutions. I'm also at BD the global process owner for packaging design and development, which means that I'm responsible for creating our global packaging documents, policies, procedures, as well as assessing external documents and then applying them to what we do at BD. That's the part that pays the bills. But in my free time, I'm also the president of the North Jersey chapter of IOPP. And so we're using the term North Jersey as part of a recent rebrand that we did. Going back years and years, we were known as the Meadowlands chapter. And obviously, if you're from the North Jersey area, Meadowlands has a certain connotation. The general area. And what we found was that a lot of folks that are new to the area, maybe you came in for a new opportunity, new job. You knew out of school you're here, and there wasn't a really strong geographical marker for Meadowlands. And I'll give you. I'm going to throw a few things out to you first, just to have you guess. And there's nothing against these chapters, but I went through this morning and just pulled out some chapter names. Again, nothing against them, but if I told you to guess where the Gulf Coast chapter was, where would you guess?
Well, Gulf Coast, that's a rough one because you could go anywhere from the southern tip of Florida all the way around to Houston, Texas. So anywhere in between. But I'd probably pick a midpoint and say, Alabama or Mississippi, somewhere around there.
So you actually had one. You had the city, Houston, Texas,
okay.
is where the Gulf Coast is based out of. Another one, and they do a great job on the website. We'll get to that. But Glass City, where would you pick Glass City as?
Yeah, I'd have no clue on that one. I mean, I'd be putting my packaging hat on, and I would guess South Jersey. Because Delaware River has a lot of glass houses down there due to the sand and raw material locality. But I'm sure that's not it.
No, and that's a great guess. Toledo, Ohio. And again,
okay.
they recognize on the website. And then the last one here, I'll throw this out there, Cascade chapter of IOPP.
Okay, so Cascade, I'm going to have to go with Pacific Northwest on that one. I'm going to guess Washington, Oregon area, Cascade Mountain Range. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, you're real close to Seattle, Washington,
okay.
Right, with all the industry up there. So, but that gives you, and I would have then thrown in Meadowlands if I was talking to somebody who wasn't from this area, and I said Meadowlands, it would probably fall into a similar bucket where it's a bit vague because you've got other chapters out there. Southeastern chapter, right? There's a geographical reference you could probably guess. New England chapter, again, really, really well defined. Central Ohio, Central Indiana, there's a geographical reference. So if you're new to an area and you go through a list of chapters, what's local to me, those you would at least know. And so for us in the former Meadowlands chapter, having that marker of North Jersey seemed to make a lot of sense. The initials also worked out, North Jersey, NJ, so kind of a play on that as well. But it gave folks that are in this area something to at least geolocate from.
Okay, makes sense.
So with that rebrand, there obviously was a number of chapters that existed in this area. We had the New Jersey chapter of IOPP, and I should take a quick step back. IOPP, and I know acronyms are everywhere in industry. Institute of Packaging Professionals. Apologies, I didn't mention that before. But we had for years there was a New Jersey chapter of IOPP that's been defunct now for about a decade or more. We had the Meadowlands chapter. And then we had some other folks that were close. I think at one point in time there was a Connecticut chapter. And so over the years, right, folks would come into this area. As I mentioned, you're new to the area, you don't know where Meadowlands is, you see, a listing for a New Jersey chapter. Folks were associating with a chapter that really didn't exist anymore. And so we wanted to correct that with the rebrand as well.
Okay. I believe the Meadowlands chapter was the chapter that I joined when I first got involved in IOPP. This is going back 2001 when I was about 6 years old. Just kidding. No, I was at Rutgers studying packaging engineering, and I joined up and earned my CPIT. I want to say it was 2001, and I believe it was the Meadowlands chapter that I got involved with.
Yeah. It's got a long history. I mean, the genesis of even the Meadowlands dates back to, I think it's around 1960. The Society of Packaging and Material Handling Engineers was where the first certificate. We had some folks on our board of directors that dug that out of the archives there. So it goes back a long way. So there is a history there, and it's not one that we wanted to walk away from. But again, for the sake of having that nostalgic name is great. We want to honor the history of the chapter. To your point, a lot of folks remember the Meadowlands chapter, but the name doesn't define the chapter, but it wasn't helping us in today's day and age.
Okay. So aside from this rebirth, I guess we're calling it the name change, any scope change, any change in focus in the organization, or is this just simply a new name, but we're staying true to the original focus of the organization?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think, for those that knew the Meadowlands chapter, know IOPP, we are staying true to a focus on education and technical content. In the New Jersey area, right, it's kind of a double-edged sword. The challenges and the opportunities is that there are other packaging trade groups in the area. There is the Cosmetic Industry Buyers and Suppliers, or CIBS group, which is obviously, as the name implies, cosmetic focused. There's also the New Jersey Packaging Executive Club, NJPEC, a little more focused on networking and scholarships. And then there's IOPP, the North Jersey chapter. And so the opportunity there is obviously there's different focus areas, and maybe how do we as North Jersey chapter partner with some of those other organizations. But at the same time, we recognize that there's only so much time in a day, and folks have other industry groups that they may be a part of and may be involved with. And so, we want to be that educational, the technical focus group of those in this area. And I think the events and things that we do, we try and focus there more than other areas.
Okay. So if you wouldn't mind, tell me a little bit about, or tell us all a little bit about some of the recent events that you guys have run through your local chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. So we try, as the president, I would love to tell you that, we're going to have events all the time and getting people together. The reality is that we try and have at least 2 to 3. I'd love to have 4 events once a quarter, a year, but that's an aspirational goal. We've had about 1 to 2 events a year. Some notable ones recently. We had one focused on sustainability, probably a year or so back. We had folks from 3 separate companies come in and describe the challenges around sustainability, what their specific industries or companies were facing. Had really, really well attended because that was hot, a hot topic of the moment. The fun one, it was a little bit longer ago, but we actually had one where cannabis packaging, right? So this is early on in cannabis becoming more legal. We had a gentleman come in and speak. Fascinating to think about. You think it's cannabis, right? It's not that hard to package. Well, when you figure the barrier properties, some of the stickier substances have to release. How is it presented? How is it protected? How is it regulated? How do the graphics interact with it on shelf? It was a fascinating event. But again, in the scope of technical packaging challenges that industry faces, it was an incredible event to hear about, and the challenges that they're having was really well received.
I don't have any personal experience with any of the cannabis packaging developments, if you will, but just intuitively, I would think, and please tell me if I'm way off base here, but my first guess would be it would probably be an amalgamation of like a nutraceuticals packaging with a very consumer driven, heavy on the branding point of purchase marriage between those two industries. Am I kind of on the right track there?
Yes, absolutely. It had almost that food element in some of the barrier properties and shelf life properties. It had, yes, the consumer appeal of being on shelf next to a whole lot of other similar products, and that regulated element. So I think you're spot on there.
Okay. It's a little surreal to me that we're actually having this conversation about this, growing up in an era where, it was always taboo. And now all of a sudden here we are on a podcast chatting about cannabis packaging. And it's just kind of interesting how things develop like that.
Yeah. And when we first, this was years ago, right. And our board of directors was a little bit older, right. It come from an earlier generation, and to hear everybody talking about cannabis packaging, right? The squirming in your seats. Like, do we really want to be the chapter talking to somebody about cannabis packaging? And again, after the fact, it was just mind blowing, because to your point, how it relates, it's not cannabis, it's another product, right? And we have, as packaging professionals, we have to protect, we have to brand, we have to do all those things that you would for any other product. It just happens to be cannabis inside.
Yeah, it's just another widget.
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about IOPP. So I'm familiar with the organization. Maybe not everybody out there listening is. Obviously, you mentioned SIBS, you mentioned NJPEC. Now, NJPEC, I've been a very active member with, since my college days. And so I'm intimately familiar with that organization. But, the NJPEC is a New Jersey-based local organization. One chapter, that's it. SIBS, to my understanding, is the same. They're based in Manhattan. They are a cosmetics industry organization, so they are heavily focused in cosmetics. IOPP is a little bit different, or I should say a lot of bit different, because it is a global organization with chapters on, I would guess, probably 6 of the 7 continents. So, talk to me, a little bit about, IOPP parent organization. Let's dive a little bit into, some of their philanthropic endeavors. Maybe, there's obviously certifications available, trainings, et cetera, and how the North Jersey chapter kind of fits into that, fits under that umbrella, I guess.
Yep, absolutely. So IOPP globally is quite large. So there's over 3,300 active members today across IOPP in over 30 countries. There are a total of 22 chapters, and that includes both U.S. and Canada. We actually have a chapter up in Ontario, Canada. So it's not just even the U.S. The interesting thing, and to the earlier discussion around, what is IOPP? It obviously has that geographic nature. So there's 22 chapters, scattered across the country, North America. Want to give people, a local community to be a part of. But at the same time, there's actually 8 technical committees. So if your focus is, and I'll talk to one that I'm a part of, right? The MDPTC, or the Medical Device Technical Packaging Committee. There are 8 of those, whether it's pharmaceutical med device labeling, whether it's chemical packaging, bag. There's a number of focused committees that you can also be a part of, right? So you don't have to identify geographically. You can identify through, some specialization, maybe where you're working and what you're doing day to day. Bringing that down to the local, a little more local level. Our New Jersey, North Jersey chapter has about 500 active members. So of those 3,300, North Jersey is a pretty large group, and it makes sense with the North Jersey representing Long Island, Manhattan, Northern New Jersey, Southern Connecticut. We even have folks coming in from Pennsylvania that are members of our chapter. So it does give a local opportunity for folks to come out and like I said, talk and hear technical packaging things a little more closer to home.
Okay. So I guess what I'm hearing is I had a big swing and a miss, because in my head I always thought IOPP was this monster global organization with chapters in Europe and chapters in the Far East, and so it's predominant. Well, I guess solely North America.
From a chapter perspective, yes,
Okay.
and having members in 30 countries, right? There's a lot of students that are members that start through their education, and that's where some of the countries are represented. But
Okay.
yeah, chapter wise, it is really North America.
Okay. To me, sounds like maybe there's some opportunities there. I'm always looking at glass half full. Got to grow, got to expand, got to improve our numbers.
Yeah, and I think the challenges, while they're similar, and not to dive into another topic like packaging waste regulation in Europe, right? There are differences globally that I think, could be exciting opportunities, to your point, for the future. Where else could we go, and what does that bring to the broader organization, right? That's always the benefit. The more folks you have, the more diversity you have, the better opinions and perspectives you bring into everybody. So
yeah. Well, I mean, unless you're working at a local pizza shop in town, we all work for organizations that are a part of this global economy. And so we're not only selling to the US market or the North American market, we're selling to a global market. And so having strongholds in other areas of the world where some of that knowledge sharing can take place, I think there could be, it could be advantageous for everybody, on both sides of the aisle, or on all sides, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay. So I understand, you said, 1 to 2 events per year. You would love to get to the point where you're holding one every quarter, but sounds like you have an event coming up soon that you wanted to make mention of.
We'll be right back.
Hey, folks. Thanks for listening in to the Packaging Etc. podcast. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button wherever you may be listening. If you have ideas for content or future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. www.precisionengsolutions.com. Use the contact us form, or hit me up on LinkedIn, Matthew Mulvey. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah, and thank you for that. We have an event scheduled for June 23rd, true to the North Jersey name. It'll be in Hackensack, New Jersey, but it's titled "The Power of Color." And so, looking at topics that really apply to everybody. Color is something that is everywhere, whether you're in, the medical device packaging industry where you have brand colors, to industries where cosmetics and food, you're on shelf. We actually have Barry Sinnell from Diageo, who's going to be speaking from the end user side of color, and then Dan Daza from Sun Chemical, one of the premier color organizations in the world. We'll talk on the technical side around what makes color, and it's a great opportunity for folks to come out to ask questions, to hear again how color is being used across the spectrum of industries. For anybody that is interested, we have our registration through IOPP, North Jersey IOPP, all one word, .org. We've got a link on our website, northjerseyiopp.org. Click on the events, and we have the link embedded there for folks to come out. Great food, great drink, great presenters, and we're hoping to really kickstart that this being the first of a few events this year in 2026. So if folks are interested, please come take a look, come join us. I think it's going to be a great event.
Okay. You kind of frame the organization, the local chapter, I should say, and the events that you host as more educational, and like you mentioned, NJPEC is more networking and scholarship focused, which is absolutely true. As a packaging professional, if I'm sitting there and I'm on the fence about attending this event, just based on the technical and learning aspect of the event, what kind of demographics could I expect from the attendees if I wanted to come to an event like this and I wanted to add networking as part of my agenda? Who could I mean, I'm not asking you to drop names, but just by all means, name drop. Perfect opportunity. No, just trying to understand demographics. Like, who are the typical people, positions, companies, et cetera, that would attend an event like this?
So I think that the attendees reflect the area. I can go back since it's done, right. We had our sustainability event. We had folks from cosmetic companies, from food companies, from pharmaceutical companies, from medical device companies, as well as the suppliers. We had somebody from a machine company, folding carton company, labels and insert company. We had one or two consulting companies come and join us. So it's very diverse, and so it doesn't really matter where you are. You're likely to find a peer in a similar industry, or somebody that's totally unrelated coming to hear the same thing and network with folks across the spectrum. So I do think, and we deliberately plan events to try and pull in as many people as possible. If I held an event on pharmaceutical labeling, that may not be applicable to a wide range of folks, but something again like color, like sustainability, even some of the regulations, food and drug under similar regulations. We're trying to do things that apply to the widest audience possible, but still give good technical content.
And now, from a leadership perspective, you mentioned you were the president of the North Jersey chapter. And when we originally started discussing this episode, we were intending to have a panel of leaders from the organization. Due to unfortunate circumstances, it was whittled down to you. So you drew the short straw and had to come on and talk to me. But feel like we need to give a shout out. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of mention so people who know who they missed out on, unfortunately, in this episode, and we'll have to figure out if we can do a follow up at some point and get everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my vice president, our former president, now currently, fortunately, sticking with me as vice president, Franco Diaz, was unable to join us, but he's our vice president, very well connected in this area, and really helps out a ton with speakers and spaces. I will do a quick plug. We are looking for more board members. If folks are interested. We struggle with social media and the events side of things. We're doing the best we can, but we are looking for folks if you're interested for more of a public facing role within the board. And then Rob Reichman is our treasurer. So we've just recently put Rob on as our money man, so to speak, helping us with finances. But again, very well connected in the industry, in the area. And so we all lean. It's a kind of a three-legged stool. We pull one of us out, and it doesn't work very well. So we've been coordinating amongst ourselves to hold these events. But Rob and Franco are tremendous on the board. I think between the three of us, we probably have over 75 years. I may be underselling it. 75 years in the packaging space combined. So again, we want to share our knowledge with the community. We want to bring folks together to learn and grow. So yeah, we couldn't. I could not do this. We could not do this as a chapter without their support.
Okay. No, I appreciate you sharing that. Now, you did mention that you're always looking for new members. You're looking for people, some new blood to infuse onto the board and whatnot. And I do know that from personal experience with NJPEC and other organizations, one thing that we struggle with in general, and I think that this is not specific even to packaging, is how are these organizations attracting in younger talent? How are they bringing in the newer and younger, the future generations that will be leading these boards? And so I know that we on the NJPEC side have struggled. What are you guys seeing through the IOPP and specifically the North Jersey chapter? You guys have an outreach program, or kind of do you have a focused effort where you're looking at some of the younger generations and trying to bring them in?
Yeah, and yes. So everything you mentioned is true. We struggle. We struggle with bringing in new membership, especially younger generations for a variety of reasons. But to your point, it's not a North Jersey chapter problem. It is a broader problem. I talk to other chapter presidents on a monthly basis, hosted through our national group. And some chapters are better than others, especially if you're co-located in a region with a packaging university. And so for us in North Jersey, I think there's a untapped potential with Rutgers being in our backyard here, of engaging more with the students as part of this upcoming event. I did reach out through our mailing list for the students at Rutgers that are registered through North Jersey chapter of IOPP, personal invite to have them come out. If you are a student and you're listening here, we always offer free attendance to the events for packaging students. Come on out and take a look, give us a test drive, if you will. But no, it's a struggle. And so I think where we can tap into that student base, you mentioned yourself, right? Being part of NJPEC as a student, I was part of the IOPP chapter at Michigan State. So my background is, my degrees are through Michigan State School of Packaging. I was a member back then. I didn't understand it, to be candid, right? I didn't know what IOPP was. I knew it was something that I should be involved with, and then I stayed with it. I grew with it, and realized what the opportunity was. But I think that's a goal for me, for us as a group, to get more involved with the students, to bring them out and hopefully do what it sounds like you and I both did, is just progress into the real world from the engagement at the university level.
Yeah. Well, and I'll add to the plug for the students. So if there are any students out there that are on the fence, or maybe we're not aware of IOPP as an organization, number one, get involved. Number two, there is a certification program through IOPP. You start out as a CPIT, which is where I started, Certified Professional in Training. And then there is a 5-year recertification process once you get your CPP, which is Certified Packaging Professional. You have to pass an exam, and there's a bunch of different criteria you have to meet, exceed, if you will, in order to earn your CPP. But then after, I think it's 3 recertifications, you earn lifetime Certified Packaging Professional status through IOPP. So great on a resume. Lovely to have those initials after your name. So students, if you're out there and you're on the fence or thinking about getting involved, by all means, give it a shot. Look into CPIT. Go on the IOPP.org web. It's IOPP.org, right? Yeah. IOPP.org website. All the information you need is right there. Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, any parting thoughts you'd like to share?
No, I really appreciate you having me on here, highlighting the North Jersey chapter of IOPP, the work that we're trying to do. I'll echo what you said earlier. Whether you're a student, whether you're just somebody in industry, you're looking to make connections, whether it's IOPP, SIBS, NJPEC, come on out. I think all of these organizations do a tremendous job trying to help people. Right. It's about growing individuals, advancing in your career, making those connections, those networks. Come on out to events, join, see what it's all about, kick the tires. I think the benefits, is it a commitment? Absolutely. Right. It's your free time. And I think these organizations, we acknowledge that, we respect that, but come on out. And I think that the value is going to be there. So yeah, that's my plug. Whether if it's North Jersey, IOPP, it's another group in New Jersey here. I mean, New Jersey, northern New Jersey as a whole, just has one of the most concentrated packaging ecosystems in the U.S. I mean, with the life sciences that we have here in this area, the logistics hubs. You mentioned at the beginning, right, the glass manufacturing, just the long-standing manufacturing in this area. We are just a phenomenal area for packaging folks to be, and so yeah, take advantage of that.
Awesome. Well, I do want to go back and I'm gonna ask you, maybe you know, maybe you don't. The Toledo chapter, why are they called is there like a major hub of glass manufacturing in that area?
You know, I will have to go, and that'll be my homework from this episode, is to go, and I'm sure there's going to be somebody at IOPP National listening, just screaming to themselves, listening to this, like, you should have known this, the Glass City.
That'll be a future episode then.
So maybe this is the plug to go. I'll get my counterpart in Glass City to come on.
There you go.
And do an episode with you. But yeah, it's a great question. I again, New Jersey area, you always think of New Jersey as kind of the glass capital in the country, and there's got to be a sister or a brother or sister connection there with Toledo.
Must be. Well, I guess we'll have to find that out. Anybody listening, if you happen to know, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to Adam through the IOPP North Jersey chapter website, which he mentioned earlier. You can also go on my website, which is www.precisionengsolutions.com. Hit the contact us form, or you can hit either of us up on LinkedIn. I know I'm always on LinkedIn multiple times every day, so feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to get an explanation as to why the Toledo chapter is called the Glass chapter. Am I getting that right?
Glass City.
Glass City. Thank you. Glass City.
Glass City chapter. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's about it for today. Adam, thank you so much for joining. Anything else you got for me?
Well, I think you had mentioned that you always wanted a fun fact, and so I wanted to be prepared.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Fun fact. It's all yours.
I felt it was appropriate, since we're talking a lot about IOPP. Another quiz for you here. When do you think IOPP was founded?
Oh, as a 20-something year member, I should probably know this. I should have it memorized. I don't have the time to Google it. So, package. I'm going to go with 1959.
Ooh, that's good. 1953.
Okay, all right, that's close.
Which means that it has actually been around longer than bubble wrap, which was in 1957, and PET bottles, which were 1973.
Okay.
So a little factoid there. And then just as a extra little kicker, we mentioned the certified packaging professional. Care to wager a guess when the CPP designation was rolled out?
I'm going to guess that's a much more recent development. I'm going to go 1980s. Let's go 1984.
Again, you're not off by too much. 1977.
Okay.
Was when CPP designation rolled out, and it was actually just 3 years after the first UPC barcode was scanned at a grocery store checkout.
Interesting. 77 was a really good year. I will neither confirm nor deny that was the year I was born, but it was a very good year.
So I mean, hopefully that a little bit of IOPP trivia and factoids there to close the show.
That was perfect. Thank you. I'm actually really proud that I even came close on those. Trying to apply whatever logic in my brain I can come up with. But the first question I was thinking, this is definitely a post World War II thing. I'm thinking, maybe the economic boom of World War II and people coming back, and it was a major shift in industry. I'm like, that probably makes sense. And so 53, even closer to the end of the war than I thought. So, but that was kind of my logic. Maybe it was just pure luck that I got it close, but. It's my story and I'm sticking to it. All right. Adam, again, thank you so much. Everyone listening in, thank you so much for dipping into this episode of the Packaging Etc. podcast. Please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. I very much appreciate your support. And until next time, take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Packaging Etc. podcast. We hope you enjoyed the content and maybe learned something new. If you have ideas for future guests or topics, we'd love to hear from you. feel free to send a connection request on LinkedIn or visit www.precisionengsolutions.com and use the contact form. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us once more on the next episode of the Packaging Etc. podcast. Until then,